Hello dear students. So welcome back to our class, and in this lecture we will discuss about some more type of animal tissues, and today we are going to discuss the third type of tissues in animals, and they are the muscular tissues. So as the name shows, the muscular tissues are of course found in muscles, and these muscles, as you know, are responsible for causing the various kinds of movements in our body. So if you look at these tissues, so they cause the movement of various parts of our body due to rhythmic contractions and relaxations. And these contractions and relaxations are caused here due to presence of a special type of proteins called contractile proteins, and these contractile proteins are of two types, that is actin and myosin. So muscular tissues, due to their contraction and relaxation, they are also commonly known as contractile tissues. So these muscular tissues or contractile tissues they contract and relax, and this contraction causes movement of various parts of the plants. And so because of this movement, they are continuously working, and these movements are caused due to presence of proteins known as contractile proteins. As I have already told you that these contractile proteins are of two types, and these two types of contractile proteins are actin and myosin. So as you know, in the body of every animal, there are various kinds of functions going on, various kinds of movements are going on. Some movements are under the control of the will of the organism, whereas others are not. So those movements which are under the control of the organism's will, they are known as voluntary movements, and those which are not under the control of organisms are known as involuntary movements. So let's look at the various types of muscles which are responsible for carrying out these movements. And as you know, these muscle cells are in the form of fibers. Muscle cells are long fibrous cells. That's why these are also known as muscle fibers. So these muscles or muscle fibers are of three types. The first one are known as voluntary or skeletal or striated muscles or striated muscle fibers. If you look at the structure of these cells are long cylindrical, and these long cylindrical cells are having alternate dark and light bands called striations, right? So here you can see alternate dark and light bands, and these alternate dark and light bands are known as striations, and These cells are also multinucleate. So if you look at the feature of these cells are long, cylindrical, striated and multinucleate. That is the feature of these cells, and striations means they are having alternate dark and light bands. So based on all these properties, they are having specific names. They are known as voluntary actions because if you look at their functions, their major function is to control all the voluntary actions of the body. Like movement of limbs. We are capable of moving our limbs, our hands and legs on the will of a function. So in that case, they are having the voluntary muscles. That's why these are also known as voluntary muscles. And of course, they remain attached to the bones and help in movement. So as they remain attached to the bones, that's why they are also known as skeletal muscles. And as you have seen, they have alternate dark and light bands because of these, these are also known as striated muscles, right? Second type of muscles which you can observe in case of animals are involuntary muscles or smooth muscles or unstriated muscles. So next type of muscles which you can see here are involuntary or smooth or unstriated muscle fibers. So in that case, if you look at the cells of these fibers, they are long spindle shaped cells having pointed ends and not having any striations, and they are uninucleate, one single nucleus at the center. So if you look at the structure of these cells are long, spindle shaped, unstriated and uninucleate, and of course the nucleus is present at the center of the cell. So that is how the involuntary muscles look like. And if you find their locations, so they can be found in all those parts of the body which are responsible for causing the involuntary movements. For example, they are found in esophagus, and another one is in sphincter muscles, iris of eyes. So these are some of the examples where you can find these muscles. and their function is to control involuntary actions. For example, you have seen that these tissues are present in esophagus. Esophagus means the food pipe which connects the buccal cavity to the stomach. So, in food pipe, there are rhythmic contractions and relaxations going on that ensure that food passes slowly in the food pipe, and that slow movement in a wavy manner, that is known as peristaltic movements. So, these peristaltic movements in food pipes is caused by these involuntary muscles. Other than that, they are also found in sphincter muscles. The sphincter muscles are either present at the junction of stomach and small intestine. Again, their contraction and relaxation ensures that food from stomach passes to small intestine in small lots, slowly. And they are also present in anal sphincter, and that anal sphincter controls the closing and opening of the anus hole. Clear? And they are also found in iris ophi. Iris ophi is the part that controls the amount of light entering to our eye. When you are in bright light, the iris, it decreases the size of pupil, so that amount of light entering to the eye is less. And when you are in dim light room or in dim light, in that case iris increases the size of pupil, so that amount of light entering to the eye is more and you can get the clear vision, right? So in this way you can see that these involuntary muscles are responsible for controlling the involuntary movements of our body. And the third type of muscle fibers or muscle cells which we can find here are known as the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles or cardiac muscle fibers, as again the name shows, they must be found in heart, and of course they are found in heart. And if you look at the structure of these cardiac muscles, they are long cylindrical branched interconnected fibers like this. And they are also having alternate dark and light bands. So you can say they are also striated, but unlike striated muscles, this time they are uninucleate. Instead of multinucleate, they are uninucleate. That means they are having only single nucleus in the cell. So you can see that these fibers are having the properties intermediate of voluntary and involuntary muscles. So if you look their structures, they are long, cylindrical, branched, striated and uninucleate. And of course nucleus here is also central. If you found their location, again no doubt that they are found only in heart. And if you look their function, they cause contraction and relaxation of heart, and of course they work throughout the life. without getting fatigued or tired. So that is all about the cardiac muscles. That cardiac muscles, they are responsible for continuous contraction and relaxation, that is the pumping process of the heart, and that pumping process is controlled by the cardiac muscles. They keep on working throughout the life without getting tired or without getting fatigued. So that is another type of tissues found in animals. These are the muscular tissues that you have seen are responsible for causing 3 different types of movements, and the last type of animal tissues, that are the nervous tissue, about which we will be discussing in our next lecture. Have a nice time. Goodbye till then.